Hi everyone, I'm Jos Schaap, CEO and co-founder at Roomdeck, and I look forward to see all of you at the Revenue Manager, the series.
Hi, this is Ian DiTullio, Chief Commercial Officer at Accor South Europe. Just taking a break in the middle of the run to tell you I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the Revenue Manager, the series. All right, we'll see you all very soon.
Hello everyone, I'm Paprika from Infor, direct from the Middle East. And some birds, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you very soon at the Revenue Manager, the series.
Hello all, I'm Pablo Torres from TSA Solutions. See you all very soon at the Revenue Manager, the series.
Hi all, I'm Martin Sabag of Fornova. See you soon at the Revenue Manager, the series.
Hi, my name is Silvia Cantarella. I'm a revenue management expert and founder of Revenue Acrobats. See you soon at the Revenue Manager, the series.
What a fantastic clip. Thank you very much, Enzo. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of the Revenue Manager, the series. We're so excited that you're all here with us today. We have a fantastic show lined up for you. And in a moment, we're going to jump right into the panel discussion. Quick announcement before that. As you all know, we have completed the Revenue Manager, the dictionary, over 600 terms of the world of revenue management and hospitality in one ebook, free for you. Just follow the link to download it and sign up today. If you do that before the end of this episode, there is a biggie. We're going to draw at the end of today's show a winner for a consulting session with Diego, Federica, and myself. So we can look at your revenue management questions for your hotel. So go there, sign up now, and participate in the draw. Last chance, participate in the draw for a free consulting session with the three of us. Go to hospitalitynet.org/TRM dictionary for the Revenue Manager Dictionary. Sign up there, and maybe it's you, the lucky winner of the consulting session. So with that, I'm going to give over to Scott. Take it away.
Well, first of all, what an amazing offer. For those that aren't familiar with the Revenue Manager Dictionary, you definitely should check it out. Really, really amazing. It's been put together with a lot of work from both Enzo and Christoph, but contributors like the people that you just mentioned that you're offering those consulting sessions from were some of the people that contributed. It's really an amazing resource, whether you're an experienced revenue manager and you're looking for the answer to a question, or you're just revenue curious and you want to understand a little bit about it. There's really some great stuff there. So definitely check it out.
Fantastico, ragazzi. So welcome everyone, also from my side. Hi Diego, hi Federica. So good to see you again. This is the 4th episode as it's announced initially. Make sure you download this ebook, guys. It's incredible. How many words did we include in this dictionary, Chris? More than 600, right?
It's more than 600. It's 115 pages of revenue management terms, hospitality terms, but also some very interesting viewpoints on different questions that we have asked the people who contributed, a panel of revenue management experts from all over the world. So some really smart people who gave their thoughts on really important topics. And a real special cherry for this revenue management cake was an amazing article by Diego speaking about a really brilliant new KPI for our industry. So yeah, it's definitely worth a download.
Great. What was this this new KPI did you create, Diego?
It's like my other song, it's the RERTI, it's the RevPAR Room Type Index, and it's trying to measure which, if we have compensated our sales into the juniors and suites in our property, because we are always focusing on the hotel performance, but sometimes we forget that in a hotel we can have between 4 and 20 room types. So it's measuring how can we are able to sales in a better way our higher room types.
Amazing, really, guys. So let me pull up the address where you can download this for free. I'll show you 1 second. I was just creating the address. Here we are. So basically the address is
that one,
www.hospitalitynet.org/TRM dictionary. So guys, this address is very important. Download this ebook and get these 600 terms of revenue management. And you have a lot to read this summer, right?
For my students that are listening, no more Wikipedia in your bibliographies ever again.
Exactly. Right. So before we start with the panel, as you know, this episode, the format of this series in each episode more or less is the same. Of course, we change topics and speakers. We start with an open conversation, a panel discussion with great leaders. We will introduce them in a few minutes, followed by 3 great travel tech presentation. We have 3 great product pitch from Fornova, Hotel Partner Yield Management, and which one is the other? SHR, Chapter Hospitality. Yes. And then at the end we have an amazing masterclass about productivity, focusing on productivity with Sendayan. So we have 4 more episodes after this. So let's look quickly at this video. And, in this way, you can mark your date on your agenda. Right, great, Scott. At this point, I will leave you introducing the panelists, and we'll see you later, okay?
Excellent. Thank you, Enzo. So welcome, panelists. I'm going to introduce you in a second, but just wanted to say I'm super excited to have you here. I'm really excited about our discussion today. I think for those that are not familiar with the series, this discussion series runs in tandem with the Hospitality Net World Panel for Revenue Optimization. And so we follow along with the different opinions. If you haven't checked that out, definitely look it up. It was a really good article this time. And one of the reasons I'm really excited about it is because there were so many different interpretations of the question. So there were a lot of different types of feedback and a lot of different types of answers, really, from different experts. So what we've done is we've aligned our panelists a little bit with some of the opinions that they were most interested in. So let me introduce them and let's get right into it right away. So first panelist I want to introduce, just going clockwise as far as I see everybody, is Pablo Torres. And Pablo, tell us a little bit about yourself and what TSA is and what you guys do.
Hi, well, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Pablo. I'm Spanish based in London. I work with TSA. We do consulting and training for hotels globally, companies based in Singapore. And we help hotels drive performance mainly through upselling and cross-selling in all departments.
Excellent. Thank you, Pablo. And then just kind of continue going around, Claire Hempel with Whittleberry Park. You have a very big role there, so I think we'll get into that in a little bit. But tell us a little about yourself and Whittleberry Park, and then tell us a little about what you do there.
Unmute.
There you go. That's you owe $1.
So yeah, I work at Whittleberry Park, a really fabulous resort in the middle of England, just outside next door to Silverstone Racetrack. I'm sure everybody's heard of that. Been in the industry coming up 25 years, 11 years in revenue management. I look after everything revenue at Whittleberry Park. So promotions, packages, pricing, everything. And I also look after the systems. So everything from the POS, PMS, and any new and interesting products that we see out there.
Thanks, Claire. And of course, last but not least, Julian Barre. Julian is also an associate of mine from the HSMAI Revenue Optimization Board. Tell us a little bit about what you do, Julian, and yourself.
Thank you for having me today. So I'm Director of Revenue and Reservation. I'm based in Paris at the beautiful Hotel de Crillon, part of the Rosewood Hotel Group. I'm also overlooking the region of Europe. So we have a property in London, one obviously in Paris, and another beautiful resort in Tuscany. And we're also working on the next opening. So the next one will be Madrid in October 2021. And just after, in June 2022, we are opening Vienna in Austria, and lots of other properties in the pipeline in the year to come. So lots of dynamism within the region.
Cool. You're one of those fortunate ones that had hotels under construction before COVID. Right? From an academic perspective, you are a really, really fun case study for us to look at. So I look forward to talking some more. So as I mentioned, we align with topics from the panel. And so the first opinion that we wanted to talk a little about was from Max Starkov. Many of us know Max Starkov, great thought leader and friend in the industry. And Claire Hempel, you actually were the person who was kind of drawn to this opinion. So tell us a little bit about what caught your eye and why.
Sure. So I saw this opinion. First of all, my first thought was, is this guy gone crazy? How can we possibly reduce staffing levels by 50% based on just 2 years ago? It didn't make much sense to me because we work in hospitality and everybody knows hospitality. We provide service. We're friendly. That's what it's all about. So I dug a little deeper and I thought about what we did pre-COVID, what we do now, and what we've implemented, and the systems and things. And actually, I got us down. So I work at a resort, an independent hotel, and we base ourselves on individuality matters, which is a lot around staff and service levels. But I actually looked at how we can automate things and what we can do, and actually probably reduce the headcount by about 20%. However, I would say that the caveat to that is that we have the systems and the tech in place. And around that is then having the investment and the ability to invest in that tech.
Cool. So let me just kind of as a follow-up, Julian, let me ask you, you're responsible for hotels. So I'm sure that there was some constriction of staffing at some point. It's only the responsible thing to do. But what's the outlook for staffing, even with new hotels? What's the outlook on that? Is it conservative or is it knowing that things are happening? I mean, where's everybody at right now on the operator side?
It's not an easy one because in some region we are looking on having in the same city or within the same region 1, 2, or 3 properties. So we are already thinking forward on clustering and having a different organization. to try to be more efficient, not only because of cost, but just to try to be more efficient, more productive, and to think out of the box compared to what we've been thinking and what we've been seeing, until today. Not only because COVID, just because people are changing, expectation towards work are changing as well. And that's where we need to take a step forward, because we're talking about automation, tools, different systems, but the human is in the middle of all those, subjects. And that's also a key subject which has changed over the last years and months, especially the new generation, they have a different approach to work. They're not ready to do like 12, 16 hours a day like before. They're looking for work-life balance. And that's why, we have to think differently to attract new talent, but at the same time to have something, well organized.
I agree. I think it's interesting. You mentioned, rebuilding with the different structure. I liken COVID a little bit sometimes to someone's house burning down in a way. It's a terrible tragedy, but eventually that memory is going to kind of get a little bit more dull. And then you have a responsibility. Now you're holding an insurance check. You have the wisdom of living in the old house, and now you wouldn't rebuild exactly the same house. For me, the kids are gone, one less bedroom, a little bit more closet space. We need more closet space. I'd probably get a man cave, depending upon how nice the insurance company was. So it only makes sense. I think it's the responsible thing when you rebuild to do it mindfully of today and reflecting today's employee values. I mean, if you want to kill a group of young managers, say the phrase "pay your dues" in front of them and watch 50% of them run for the hills pretty quickly. That's kind of not the way people think anymore. If they're talented, they don't want to wait if they're talented and if they work hard, right? So Pablo, let me come to you. You're 100% on the people side of it, right, basically. And so what do you see as far as that is happening right now? What is that difference and how is it manifesting itself?
I mean, what I've been seeing now during the pandemic, some hotels remain open in some regions. So they were usually running with skeleton team for obvious reasons. The occupancy was very low. Challenge is now when the occupancy starts growing up and the skeleton team remains there. So fair enough, yeah, hotels are meant to do more with less, but we have to be careful. I mean, how little is that team? Because what many hotels are doing is running a very low team, and that means increased number of complaints because you're trying to keep up the ADR, the rate, but the service is not there because you don't have enough staff. So how do they compensate that to avoid the reviews from customers going down? Giving free upgrades, for example. So okay, give you free upgrades so you don't complain because you already got an upgrade. Still, it doesn't compensate the lack of service. So I think there is a challenge there now between the level of service you want to provide, the amount of staff you can afford. We have to be honest as well. Occupancy is still not very high, but also the people you can find, because a lot of people have left the industry, and now some hotels, even though they want to hire, they can't find the talent. And that's going to be a challenge in the next few months.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that operate in the United States, and in a lot of locations, based on what they're customarily pay for those positions, the enhanced unemployment benefits make it very difficult to entice people back to work. Who would want to work 40 hours a week for 10% more money? It kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense, really. And so they're having problems just getting people into the positions. And then really kind of more along your lines, right? The right people, right? The well-trained people that can really do the job well, they don't just show up ready, right? They take some time to prepare them. So anyway, Claire, I don't know if you had any other comment on this topic before we move on, but I think it's interesting. We didn't really talk about robots and automation. That's not a word. Automation and all that. But where do you guys see that figuring in? Do you think does that immediately come in, or how does that work out?
I think it does. From our perspective, we've invested quite a bit over the last 12 months. We've been closed for the vast majority of it. We just reopened on Monday, so it's all new again. But we invested in tech to enable express mobile check-in, check-out, not only because we don't need the team to be there to facilitate that check-in, but also the customers want it now. They don't want to be sitting queues and all of that sort of stuff, waiting to check in, waiting to check out. They can do that from their the palm of their hand. And that's what people want now. They want everything here. They want it now. So we did that. So that was really good. We invested in our booking engine. So we need less people manually putting stuff in, reservations, taking phone calls, that sort of stuff. All kinds of different things, even down to small things like robotic hoovers, vacuum cleaners for public areas and things to take that staff away. So it's moving really, really fast. I work in an independent hotel, which is notoriously slow at the uptake of tech and things. But I think it's going that way. Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned slow. Our industry in general is slow on the uptake, right? I always wondered if you've ever looked underneath a hotel bed. You kind of immediately wonder why they don't use a Roomba, right? Because they can vacuum under there and doesn't care. Forget the labor savings. It's a short enough vacuuming thing to clean a place we can't clean otherwise. And yet you never really see them in hotels. So be interested to see what the uptake is. And Julian, how about you? Rosewood is a high touch company, right? We all associate Rosewood with a lot of service, a lot of luxury. What are the implications in that segment technology wise? Are they the same or would you say they're different?
No, yeah. Well, we're trying to have like more technology in the back end to make sure that people working and the minds people are helping with through those technology, which is important. So we've been working for the last months, and we started an implementation for Paris, for instance, for gathering all the info prior check-in, check-in, check-out as well, to make it smoother. And to enable, the people on property to spend more time with the guests rather than, spending time with all the admin. But it's always a tricky thing because, especially over those times and COVID, people want to invest, but it costs money. So we don't want to spend money. So to me, it's a short-term investment for mid or long-term results. So even though, it's a difficult time, but we have to see long-term, 5 years, 6, 7 years, and we definitely need something in the back end to help people to spend more time with guests, because that's the key at the end of the day. We're doing hospitality.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, right? Right now, there's not a lot of cash running around in the business, and so you mentioned that you make that statement of investing for the future when that amount is lean, and some of that technology has a big upfront investment in some cases that even in the good times, because of the way we treat the business, we sometimes are a little slower to pick that up. And
I can
let me just ask
you.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I can add something, if you don't mind. The question always also, a lot of companies are working with too many tools to me. Because it's fine, we want to automate, but at the end of the day, you have 2, 3, 4 systems, which are all of them doing more or less the same thing, and you're spending more time, to take care of those systems, to refresh the systems, to you extract one report on system 1, you extract another report on system 2, and you're spending too much time on system at the end of the day. So yes, we have to use system, we have to automate, but be careful, try to find a system which can gather, the different tools you expecting, basically.
Yeah, you mentioned the same thing. You mentioned some of the automation. I spoke recently with Kelly McGuire, who some of you might know. She's a contributor also to the panel, and always fun online, in case you're wondering. But her company has done a lot of stuff really where they're using technology to wrap old systems so that things can just talk to each other, which to me is a gigantic labor savings. It doesn't necessarily mean revolutionizing your business, but if you can keep people from, it's a real tragedy when you look at a computer screen and type into another computer. That's just to me the saddest transaction on the planet at this point. And so you mentioned automating some of that stuff, which is not guest facing, but does create that time, right, to take better care of the guest and to allow our people to think and that sort of thing. Before we move on, just Pablo, I want to ask you a question. What about the investment in training? You're a training company. Right now, time is lean. We're talking about investing in tech, but investing in people also is improving them. How does that, if I was a development person in your company, what would they say about now versus a year ago?
For some hotels it's challenging, but they have to see it either from the management or ownership, and sometimes the owners are the one deciding, right? They have to see it as an investment. So not spending money on the team, but investing on them. In trainings like ours, for example, it's very clear the return on investment because you're talking about upselling. But in general, any type of training you do on your team is going to revert on better service on the customers and also better atmosphere within the team. So if you manage to get that mindset on the management and the owners that it is an investment and it's not spending money in the team, they'll go ahead. Yeah. So I mean, we have more and more hotels obviously now reopening or with increased occupancy that are really going into investing in their teams to provide a better service. Yeah.
Certainly there's just like there's revenge travel or pent-up demand for travel, there's definitely not been a tremendous amount of teaching going on the last 12 months. So I would imagine there's probably some pretty pent-up demand for that as well. Exactly. So let's very, very related topic, because we're still obviously on the topic of productivity, but let's slide, Enzo, if you don't mind, let's slide to that next slide, and let's talk about Diego's opinion, which was interesting, right? One of the ones that surfaced was one from one of the people involved in the program. And Julian, it was you that was kind of drawn to this one, talking a little bit more about that same productivity stuff, but that whole concept of smarter, not harder, and everything. So I was wondering if you just kind of reflect on what you saw in the post for us a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, working hard is good, but working smart is even better, I believe. And there's a big difference between being busy and being productive. So, and that's typical French, working long hours, long days. And I'm French, so I can say so. Working long days, it's better than working 5 hours but being more productive. It's just in the mindset, basically. And that's something within the culture which needs to change. So that's not even in France, that's in some other country as well. So before, trying to find some solutions, we have to start, changing the culture as well. Because if you, and a lot of managers and even general managers, saying, okay, yeah, trying to be productive. If you finish earlier, you can leave the office, no problem. But when you're leaving the office and you take a look at his clock, there is an issue. You're feeling bad. So that's why we need, at the end of the day, before talking all these techniques, tools and systems, there are some basic things which can help us working smarter and not harder. The power of mindset. First of all, and shifting to a positive mindset, will lead you to accomplishing more in less time. And just to give you a quick example, negative thinking triggers like, work emails. And I just read a studies last week saying that in average, a professional is checking his email every 37 minutes every day, which is too much. And that's has a direct impact in your productivity. So culture change, I said so. Also another one, another tips, it's achieve phone-life balance. The fear of missing something on your phone, checking your emails, the social network, and lots of staff, lots of employees, whether it's front or back, they have their phone with them during the shift. And that's an issue on productivity as well. That's basic, but that's the real life at the end of the day. What else as well? Organizing your shift, your daily tasks, and usually, you're trying to do everything at the same time, checking emails, answering the phone, working on the project. But at the end of the day, this multitasking reduced productivity by 40% as per study I read in the US. So, which is enormous. So that's something key which we need to look at.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Claire, let me ask you. I think you made a great point, Julie. We talk about work-life balance, but then when we try to leave before the boss, like he does that real subtle thing, he looks at his watch. I've worked at even in the last 5 years, or the last 10 years, at companies with cultures that, we talked about work-life balance a little bit, but typically nobody left until the boss left, and you're kind of watching and you're going, okay, So Claire, let me ask you first from a practical perspective, and then Pablo, you have a more you see a lot of environments, so you see the more macro. Do you think that's really something that's changing? Notification fatigue is something that I learned about during COVID, but it's real, right? It just, oh my goodness, like it's just so much all the time. You can't leave it alone. So what's your experience in the practical sense, Claire?
I think for us over the last year, we've realized that actually you don't need to be at work 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. And you need to have that work-life balance right? And we've seen more productivity from our teams by spending more time at home and less time in the office. Everybody's been working from home, and to switch off, it's important.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting, right? But that whole idea, to me, I loved working from home before I became an educator. I ran remote teams for 15 years, and I really loved the ability to work really hard on a Thursday and take Friday afternoon off. And because I was being measured by what I produced, not by my presence, as long as I got everything done I was supposed to, nobody really cared. Whereas I think when we're keeping track of people, then sometimes we've got them in a time period when they're not really productive, and we still are having them be there when we could, let them go play golf in the afternoon and just work hard the next day to make up for the time. It's nice. I think it's nice to have that level of flexibility. That autonomy feels good. So now, Pablo, let me come to you kind of for the macro perspective. You're in a lot of different businesses. Is it a movement? Is it company by company? Like, what's going on with that stuff in terms of quality of life and everything?
I think in more than companies, it's region by region. So it depends on what you're talking about. So if we look at China, for example, they use WeChat for everything. So there is a very thin line. Well, there is no line really between personal life, professional life, because they use that network for everything. So in that sense, it's very challenging. If we look into Europe, for example, and using different social media or social networks to work, I think there was a law in France that you cannot reach people outside of working hours, for example, by the government. So there's a clear law making the line in there. But, to be more proactive, obviously, as the other colleagues are saying, you cannot be working 24 hours focusing on something. We train usually line staff mainly, and for them it's more challenging because they work on shift 24 hours, 24/7 every day of the year. But I think it relies more on the empowerment, empowering the team members, not micromanaging them. And if they know they've done what they're meant to do, then it's fine. And then also from the management point of view, when it comes to hours worked and the amount of workload, it's about balancing the shifts. Sometimes you see teams like you have too many people thinking of reception, for example, too many people at the desk, and there are no check-ins, no check-outs. Like, who did this shift? Why having so many people in here? What's the point? And the opposite, very busy day, nobody really checked the pickup, and you have one person in the massive queue, which again affects the customer satisfaction, the level of service you are providing. So empowering the teams and trying to divide that line between personal and professional life, I think, are key here.
So, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. There were a lot of comments about training and a lot of comments about taking care of people. And I think that there's a really good statement to be made for we're all looking to staff up, and who's going to get the good ones, right? The ones with the reputation of taking care of their people, creating a good work environment. They're not going to be in a constant retraining kind of a mode, and those are better hotels. And the more we can understand data and distribution, the more we recognize that there is a revenue connection between the TripAdvisor comments and it's not just some esoteric thing that's hanging out there, because when we see hotels improve them, we see their market share improve at the same time. So it only makes sense that, if we can create a better environment that the people that are taking care of our own customers like being there, it's only going to be that much better. Julian, I want to ask you just a quick follow-up question. Then I want to touch on another piece of that opinion. You mentioned people having their own devices, but one of the things I've seen is a tremendous push towards personal devices being involved in productivity, like maintenance request things and housekeeping systems and all that kind of stuff. How do we tell them to take their phone upstairs because we want them to punch in the ready rooms, but we don't want them to respond to their kids' texts at the same time?
Yeah, basically that's another phone that I'm using currently. Basically, otherwise, it's impossible. But on another side, we have some employees and some services that who are reassured by having their own phone. Especially over the weekend where there is no manager, so they're having their personal phone, especially for instance in reservation, but in other services as well. You have no manager, you need a quick answer, and that's reassured them, even though that's if that's done, on their personal mobile phone, they know that they can get a quick answer, even though if that's late in the evening, during the night, or so it's you have some pros, but you have also some cons, as always.
I mean, there's a balance, right? A lot of us in the hotel business are a little bit controlling. It's part of the reason we got there. You get to run stuff early, right? So we get to be in charge. And so, but so then you tell me I want to connect. So I'm the GM. I typically work Monday through Friday. I leave my email alone. Then I come in on Monday morning and my quality of life is destroyed because someone decided to fix something on their own instead of getting some feedback on it. So there's a real sensitivity right in that balance and all of that stuff. How do you help people understand what things maybe they should still bother me? My quality of life is going to be more ruined by the fact that you let that sprinkler run for 48 hours in the hotel than that you called me on Saturday. So interesting thing. I'm going to stay with you, Julie, and ask you a second. You mentioned, and we actually kind of pointed out elimination. And there was a whole talk about kind of, has COVID taught us to do more with less? And so I was wondering, we could reflect on that a little bit, like some of the process we just couldn't do that are gone and what happened to them.
Well, that's something we've been always trying to do, eliminate, the unuseful tasks. But now we have to react because not only because of the layoffs, but also because people are leaving the industry. And I listened to the CEO of Accor, who is expecting 25% of his employees not coming back in 2021 after COVID. And that's because they realized that there's a weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and that's why we're starting thinking how we can eliminate tasks, but we have to react and to balance, and to understand what kind of people you're left in the office and within the team. So I think that systems can help, definitely. You can automate some tasks, especially, for instance, Revenue Manager, the pickup in the morning, etc. You need also to teach people, you managers, you MDs, your CEOs, you've been used to receive some kind of templates. Now it's going to be automated, and it's going to be another template, another format, and sometimes difficult. But you just need to give them argumentation and some specification. Okay, this task takes me 30 minutes every morning. Every morning. If I'm using the system, it takes me like 30 seconds, and I can do something else. I can manage my team. I can focus on guests, and that's to eliminate tasks. You have to argument and to explain things to other people. To make them understand the importance of eliminating.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times as a revenue leader moving from one company to another, someone explains kind of here's kind of how the job was being done, and you realize that there was something that was a couple hours a week that was basically turning something from landscape to portrait because someone liked that format better. And right after COVID, I got a lot of calls from old associates of mine, and they were asking me, okay, I've got my enterprise ID. Now, how do I find that thing, right? Because in so many cases, the people that were pushing that information around when we were fat and had all of this extra labor weren't there anymore, and they had to go find the information themselves. And in some cases, I think good riddance that they figured out how to get it themselves. They get it quicker, and it doesn't take labor to get them the information. So you make a really great point.
And last thing, Scott, we have also to focus on revenue generating. Because eliminating tasks is good, but in order to focus on tasks which are revenue focused, and on some studies, especially in the US, 50% of the time are spent for Revenue Manager on tasks which are not generating revenue. So it's fine, yeah. Let's eliminate tasks, but let's also focus on tasks which are generating revenue.
So let me just ask all you guys: do you think that hotels were smart when they had to become lean? In other words, do you think that if you were looking back at it just as a general statement, do you think that we survived COVID well? Let's talk about rebuilding it next. But do you think that it was skinny down in a smart way? Anyone? Someone must have an opinion.
I think there's more and more offer. The thing is, historically, software was very expensive for many hotels. So usually only large companies or very high-end hotels could afford it. Now with more and more SaaS service, more hotels who can afford it, even small property, even hostels can afford a cheap monthly payment PMS or RMS system that they can run their property. So in that sense, I see two types of hotels: the ones who've been eager to develop and to digitalize during the pandemic, and they're getting out of it faster, and the ones who just put the curtain down and say, okay, let's wait until everything is over and then put it up again and let's reopen. They're miles behind the ones who've been investing. So there's going to be a challenge for them.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that there'll be people that learn from their rate shopping tool that there's a recovery, and people that learn from their competitors' parking lots that there's a recovery. So yeah, it's not democratic, right? It's definitely the ones that work better will feel it sooner, and that's money you'll always have, right? That's not money that if you're the one with the least market share next year, you don't recoup it the following year. So yeah, so that's a really really great point to move forward on. Pablo, I want to stay with you now. And I just have to move something out of the way here. Kind of the last opinion that we were going to spend some time on was from Raul Moranta, a good friend of mine, actually, Chief Revenue Officer for Remington. And so tell us what you saw in that post. I think that was an interesting one as well.
Yep. So there were two main points in there. One was about the evaluation of productivity, how and if productivity is properly measured, and another one was engagement from team members in the hotel. So touching on the first point on productivity, we've been mentioning already. So you might have good productivity scores if you're only measuring, for example, revenue generated by the staff members. But then if the staff level is too low and that is affecting your reputation, maybe that's not the right measure in terms of productivity. So I will question if hotels are really properly measuring productivity. So when it comes, for example, you think housekeeping, traditionally, it's very simple. You have a number of rooms, you have a number of staff members, this amount of rooms per maid. Okay, that's simple. That's the way you measure productivity. But what about, or you take waiters, for example, you take the number of tables that you have, this amount of tables per waiter, there you go, there's your ratio. What about reception, for example? How you measure reception productivity? Are many hotels saying, okay, I have this number of check-ins, this number of check-outs, and let's see how many check-ins and check-outs each team member is doing every day? But some hotels are doing it, but many are not. So, what is the productivity of each team member or the reception? Come to bartenders, for example, because the waiter is easy. You can't count the number of chairs in the tables. What about the bartender? Are you measuring the revenue generated per bartender per work hour, for example? Or you just put 3 bartenders because it's Saturday evening? So these are the things that are there. It's not difficult to measure it, but you really need a proper reference. You need a benchmark. And if you do it wrong, then the entire policy is probably misfired. So that was one.
You can potentially just demotivate your entire organization, right? Because you're making stuff that's not important the most important thing. That's a real problem. I love what you said about front desk productivity. I'd love to be able to track it at the front desk clerk. Anyone who's worked the front desk, you're either that person who always manages to go back in the back first while everyone else is still engaged, or you're the person that hates that person that goes back in the back first. So it'd be amazing to have empirical data that we could say, how does she always end up checking in 20% fewer people than the rest of us? Because she's an artist at getting away, right? So, anyways, that would be amazing. That kind of information to those sorts of metrics to inform your business. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's something that we do already. So that particular point, for example, in reception, so we can measure from our report how many check-ins each person does, and based on those shifts and the number of check-ins, how many upsells they do, for example. So then to have revisions with them, in terms of the performance. So how come you have the same shifts, the same number of hours, this person was doing 3 times more check-ins than you? Mm-hmm. And in that time, they managed to do this number of upsells or this number of enrollments, for example. And you can really measure, compare apples to apples in that sense. So that was one of the main points from Rahul's article. And then the other one, it was about team engagement and motivation. So we touched base already on how challenging it's going to be now to find staff. And I'm really a great advocate of incentivizing people. And sometimes people say, well, we don't have cash, but incentive is not only about cash. Everybody thinks about like the sales teams, all right, you get a commission if you sell something. Incentive can be also non-monetary. So for line staff, changing shifts, for example, letting them choose their day off, that can be an incentive for people and doesn't cost you anything from the revenue point of view. And incentive really improves productivity. You improve the motivation of the team member, the engagement is there, which is going to be a challenge. You were saying it yourself. Many people are in the position to choose where they're going to be willing to work. And they're going to choose the hotels, in this case, that are looking after their teams. So, and you have to think, okay, how am I going to retribute these people? If the salary is what it is, because I cannot increase it, how else can I keep them engaged and motivate them? And there are endless ways of incentivizing your team. It doesn't necessarily cost money. I was doing some research. There was this McKinsey survey that shows that the non-financial incentives, such as praise and commendation from immediate manager, attention from leaders, and opportunities to lead projects, they have much more impact on team than financial incentives, for example. But statistically, they are used less than monetary incentives.
Well, because who are they conceived by? They're conceived by people who have different motivations in their careers that are largely financially driven. And that's why they're the ones conceiving them, not the ones living with them in some cases, right? Where I think those are people that may just simply be making decisions that are more quality of life driven. And so they're motivated by other things. What are some of those things, Pablo? I'm going to go around a little bit and ask you about what are some of those non-monetary things? You mentioned some really great ones. Developing your own schedule, and that kind of, and so thing. But what are some of those things that you're finding that are the most successful, the greatest?
There are countries, for example, they only have 1 day off per week. And the line staff, so you can give them, whoever it's based on productivity, on sales, on enrollments, whatever what you're measuring for the team, an extra day off a week, for example, or giving the birthday off every year, no? Regardless of it's busy, it's your birthday, you're entitled to have your day off. Some companies, that will cost money, but talking about retirement plans, career development, many hotels still don't really have a clear development plan for the team, so it can be frustrating for especially younger generations. They are really eager and they want to progress very fast. So unless there is a clear career path for them, it can be frustrating and they can leave. So have it clear from the beginning for them. And medical insurance for some countries, some companies also still, it will cost money, but it's not directly given to that agent or that staff member, but it's a different way to incentivize.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned like a new type of worker. I think it's super important for those of us that have gray hair like me to remember that just because people have different motivations, they're not motivatable, right? And these are, for the most part, super ambitious people. And I found one of the best retention tools was hope. It's exactly as you say. It's about development, about the opportunity for the future, not the illusion of hope. That doesn't work. That gets seen through super fast, but actually real hope, right? And upside in those kind of things. I think, it really is very motivating. And we fall into a trap of kind of sort of that stereotypical millennial label sometimes, which you really just need to understand. It's not that they're not motivatable. It's just that they don't necessarily respond to the stuff that I responded to when I was 20. It's a different thing. Claire, let me ask you, and from the single property perspective, what are you finding is the most important stuff as you start to ramp back up, as you get back into that mode of, expecting business to be better?
From a staffing point of view?
Just in general. What do you find? Obviously you're around staff now. They're actually doing their jobs again for the first time in a while. What's, have they come back different? Let me ask you a little bit differently.
We have seen people have come back differently in the UK. I'm not sure about other places, but we have a thing called furlough. So people were still earning money even when the businesses were closed. So there's kind of been a bit of a shift in, some people haven't worked for 15 months. Some people have been dropping in and out. So it's quite difficult to gauge where everybody's at, which level they're at. If they've had if they've been out of the business 15 months, they need some training and they need a little bit of confidence boost and a little bit of understanding about where we're at, what we've been through for the last 15 months, trying to keep the business afloat and bringing it along on this journey that we've been on. So I think it's about treating each individual as individuals and understanding what their needs are. We are struggling to recruit as a lot of places are, because there is a lack of available resource, where you would have thought it would be totally the opposite. There'd be loads of resource available because so many people got laid off. But it's actually quite different. So it's about understanding what the individual needs, and those individual needs are very different depending on who you're talking to. So it's about understanding that and about taking a personal note of your team and what their requirements are, I think.
Cool. Julie, now actually, before we move on from this one, I want to shift to you and ask you a little bit more specific about revenue and commercial disciplines. And that has to do with incentive compensation. We've kind of talked about incentive compensation and talked about it not monetary, but let's face it, most commercial people are pretty motivated by the bonus component of their pay. And yet we've got sometimes we end up with some KPIs that are at odds. Certainly when we look at the way we measure operations, I'm sure that there's been a lot of profitability percentage focus now in terms of managing expenses. That's not very conducive to revenue growing back at a slow average rate. That's going to make us fight about our bonuses. So how are you guys dealing with that in terms of being able to align exec comp and leaders comp and that sort of thing?
It's not an easy one, because we've been discussing a while on the different regions, and on some it's up to the property. And in some properties, we're not gonna make the budget, whatever the budget is. So nothing at all for the year to come. You can be glad to keep your job already, which is that's the reality. We have to. Of course, we have to communicate, quite smartly, but you can keep your job. It's not easy, so this time is gonna be tough. But next year, we'll set up new bonuses, new bonuses, and moving forward. On another side, in some properties, we set up bonuses. Because we think and we believe that even though we're not going to achieve whatever the budget is, we have an objective, whether it's the forecast, whether it's the budget, and you have to motivate and give a vision and objective to people. So even if it's and that's always the question, I guess, Pablo, you're facing on a daily basis, but you're paid for what you're doing, so you have a salary, so what do you have to get a bonus? And that's always the question, but you're paid. An employee is paid to do the basics, and to achieve what's normality. But if you want to push them to do better, you have to incentivize. And I strongly believe that even during some difficult times, we have to give people a vision, an objective, and to incentivize to make them generate more revenue at the end of the day.
So, Pablo, let me just ask you to follow up on that. That's basically kind of the crux of the success of your company, in effect, right? Is being able to demonstrate that return on investment that is not so direct, as adding another restaurant it brings revenue, right? It has a chain in order to connect it. What are the tools you use to overcome that?
First thing is we make sure that the hotel is going to pay an incentive. In this case, a monetary incentive to the team, a part of recognition, a monthly employee of the month, and things like that, right? But very clear guidelines when it comes to incentive. It needs to be permanent. So you cannot really play with incentive. This month is going to be on, next month is going to be off. That's really demotivated for teams. That's one, for example. Another one, it needs to be clearly linked to a target. You cannot say, okay, the target is $50,000, whatever, dollars, and then halfway through the month, because things are going fine, let's increase it to 75. Again, very demotivated for teams. Then you have to set, is there going to be a limit or not? Is it going to be capped or is it going to be unlimited, for example? Has to be also very clear for the teams. And then if it's going to be taxable or not, there's going to be topped out by the company, like little details depending on the countries whether you're working with. So as long as those guidelines are clear and they pass to the teams, that everyone is on the same page, that is a great starting point. And after the first month, they start seeing the results of their efforts, both receptionists or spa team members, depending on training. And you see the middle management, the senior management seeing the numbers and the returns, like, okay, great, let's keep pushing because it's giving us some results. But it needs to be very consistent and as simple as possible. I've seen ultra complicated incentive programs. You mix the results with the guest reviews, with the audits from the sustainability guy. It's like, how, why? Nobody understands this. So it should be as simple as possible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I worked at a hotel one time with an amazing sales staff, amazing direct sales staff. I was a sales manager at the time, had an amazing year. And we got a 5% growth budget and we all left because we all knew there was no way we were going to duplicate the year before. And someone should have been really happy that we had last year, not penalized us this year. So there was no, and so really every single good salesperson on that team by the end of the first quarter could see the horizon. There wasn't going to be the great big goose at the end of the year that there was before. And if we had simply stayed flat to last year, everyone should have earned heroic bonuses. But the way it was set up, flat to last year was going to earn us nothing. So everyone left. It was an immediate demotivator. As soon as people started to do the math, you could see them kind of become dissatisfied. And by the end of the first quarter, it was that great team had completely dissolved because it just wasn't really conceived of very well. And perhaps that needs to be the budget for the owner or things like that. But then someone should have a discussion with people that are impacted. They should be able to see that and roll forward and see the impact of it. So yeah, that's a really great point. Claire, any comments on the topic before we kind of move on? I'm going to run around and get everyone's last word of wisdom in a second, but I just want to give you a chance to chime in.
I think, when we talk about incentives, I think it has to be personalized and relevant to the person that it's aimed at, basically, to keep them motivated. At the end of the day, it is about generating revenue and the guest experience, bettering the guest experience.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay, so guys, we've got like 2 minutes. Enzo loves to cut me off. I'm not going to let him do it today. I'm going to finish on time. So let me just kind of go around in the order that we started. So Pablo, I'll start with you. It's kind of on the topic of the day. What's the one gold nugget that we should leave everybody with as we go around?
Have a clear relation between the size of the team that you have, the size of the business that you have, and a clear benchmark when it comes to productivity. So clear targets and be realistic.
Cool. And Claire, same question for you. Golden nugget of wisdom that you want to share before we wrap it up.
I think we need to be open-minded that we need to invest now for the future.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, big time. And Julian, same thing.
Yeah, I would say golden triangle. Cut costs, but also generate revenue and customer experience.
Yeah, and the one thing I would add, I would say listen to your folks. Right. A chef who cooks all day long and doesn't listen to the waitress once in a while with comments about the people who are eating the food kind of misses it. So listen to people, what motivates them, right? You might be surprised. It might, as you mentioned, Pablo, I think many of us, we are programmed to believe that it's money because that's what drove us to the positions we're in. And I think if we think a little bit differently, it's probably quality of life, honestly. It's probably other things when you really think about it. So yeah, very cool. Well, Enzo, I think I finished right on time today, so you should be proud of me. Man, I'd love for you guys to join us and join the conversation. So
yeah, you did great. You did great, guys. Actually, you finished earlier, so we still have a couple more minutes before we start the vendor track sessions. We take this couple of minutes. I want to pass the word to my colleague Chris again, just to explain again what we did, guys. What we have created, an amazing ebook. Come on, Chris.
Okay, thank you very much. What an interesting discussion. The topic on productivity, it's so relevant, it's so important. One of my personal favorites. So thanks everyone for tuning in and for watching the great discussion. Quick reminder, we are still in the draw for the revenue management, the dictionary, winner of the consulting session with Diego, Federica, and myself. So go on hospitalitynet.org/TRM dictionary and sign up for the free copy of your dictionary right now before the end of this show, and you will be part of the draw. You can, of course, get the dictionary also afterwards, but you will only be able to be a part of the draw if you sign up right now. At the end of this show, after the technology track and after the masterclass, we're going to announce the winner. So maybe it's you.
Great. So we got 1 more minute. Scott, what was your impression today? What was the conversation? This productivity is becoming very hot topics, man.
I think what I was actually moved by the most, how to say, I think it was a great panel. It was a great discussion. I thought it was really fascinating that there's really, really strong feelings from the comments too when you read the comments. And so a lot of people are really tuned into, what is the health of the business when we get back to it? And if you think about there are hotels with brands that would never be able to be that brand under normal circumstances because they've cut their service levels way down. Eventually, that's all going to grow back to what it was before, right? A full service, not going to embarrass any one brand, but it's going to have restaurants again. It's not, it's going to have all those services. And I think that it's really encouraging to watch people in the industry like really kind of tune into that and be very aware of people already again, because I think the tendency might have been to kind of disregard the fact that that's really, really important part of our business because there weren't very many of them around for a while. So that was the part I took away the most. I think it's really cool to see that we're focused back on folks and that there's already some optimism and health for the business. That's my favorite part.
Thank you, Scott. So just a quick reminder, now we're starting these vendor track sessions. So the first one is going to be with Guy Gash from Fornova, then followed by Angelo Diretto from SHR, and then we got Florian Augustin from Hotel Partner Yield Management. So guys, don't change channel, stay there, stay tuned, stay with us. And before we start with them, I'm going to show you again a quick video just to remind you guys that this is going to be a series. This is the 4th episode. We still have 4 more. Let's look at the dates and the time of the next coming. Lots of stuff told you guys. So let's introduce now the first vendor track session, the Guy Gash from Fornova.
Hi all, I'm Guy Gash of Fornova. See you soon at the Revenue Manager, the series.
Cool. Hi Guy, how are you? Welcome on board.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
And thank you very much everyone for having me.
Cool. Right. So as you know, now you have your presentation. Try to stay in your 10 minutes. So in this way you can get some extra question from Pablo, Claire, Scott, Chris, or me maybe. All right. Okay. So you can pull up your slide, your time up.
1 second. Let me share my screen.
Yep.
Can you see it?
Yes. Time's up, man. Ready.
Perfect. So, hi everyone. Thank you very much again for the time and listening to this amazing series. I think it's very important for the industry. So today we are focusing on productivity. And when we are speaking about productivity, 1 second. Okay, yes. So we are all time asking ourselves at the end of the day, like if the business intelligence challenge is like changing all the times, okay? And we see that each revenue source is often treated as a siloed business units. We can see it even much more from the 3 main factors below. So achieving optimal data quality, integrate data from the relevant sources, and track and measure performance. Those are the key challenges that the hospitality people are saying and suffering with. And if you're moving forward, so the productivity, it's not only about the revenue management side. It's like, of course, in every aspect. But if you're focusing on revenue managers, so they're using a lot of their time on things that are not related to yield management. Okay, so it means that they're not making a good use of their time. And I think Julian mentioned it before that about 50% of the time is being used to non-revenue management stuff. So we see this over here, and that's even pre-COVID we saw it. And definitely right now, as we are talking about post-COVID or during COVID, that of course impacted much more because right now we have much more things to do and because there are much less employees. So there is an employment issue, which hopefully for all of us and all our fellows and friends, we wanted to go back to the pre-pandemic time. But that means that productivity is starting to be much more of a challenge than what we are expecting and thought about. Having said all of that and speaking about how much productivity is important, and I believe that all of us are aware of that, I want to share with you more about Fornova. So the ones that didn't listen or didn't hear my colleagues and friends that were part of this series before, so we at Fornova, we are a BI company based in Israel. We have offices all around the globe. We are supporting the big guys from both sides, so from big OTAs to the biggest hotel chains to regionals, and then of course for the independent. So in our today, we want to speak and be focused on our product that's called Fornova RI, which is Revenue Intelligence. It's a product that it's a revenue and operational analytics in a unified dashboard. So if we think about performance and we think about revenue intelligence in a way, the main thing when everyone wants to see is to have their KPI in front of them. And the KPI is important from the GM point of view, for the GM, for the owner, and the revenue management themselves. And on the daily basis, we know how much, like right now, the revenue managers are spending their time only to make those KPIs available for their colleagues. Now, each one of them will be able to go log in and see everything on demand right away. And compare, of course, all the data compared to any history, any benchmark that they want and need. Also, of course, budget and forecast as well. But it's not only about the history, it's also about what is happening ahead. So very easily to have the option to see 90 days ahead on a calendar view, my top 3 main KPIs. So how is my occupancy, ADR, and room revenues? And of course, we will have the events, as you can see, and therefore it's much easier also to understand why am I green, red, or yellow in each day and day. But when we are speaking and focusing on revenue managers, so it's not only about the KPI and the high-level data, it's also, and not less, it's about the specific ones of the performance. So being able to slice and dice everything, all those performance based on market level, source level, room revenues, make any metrics that they can and want, or customized report, because there's all the time the fine-tunings between one hotel to another, especially if you're talking about chains as well. So as we are talking about chains and hotels, so we as a company and our DNA at Fornova, it's top-down. So we all the time started with the tier ones. So in general, this is why in every one of our products, we have those way of thinking of headquarter, cluster, hotel level, user permission. Who can see what? That's super important, especially that right now we want to have a one unified platform for everyone to log in. But maybe we want everyone to see only the KPI dashboard, but only specific people to be able to go and see the performance and really the data itself and everything. And when we are speaking about like multiple stakeholders or having a better understanding and analysis of our performance, so of course you need to understand your guests. So we are not a CRM company, definitely not, and there are like a huge and very good ones, and there's also one that's speaking later today. But we are taking the guests and the reservation and understanding them from the analytical point of view. So that means how is the demographic? Also being able to know right now, if we are talking about distribution and revenue management, if I had any kind of even an wholesalers leakage from the reservation perspective and the guest and their demographics, I can know and find out if my wholesaler, which was supposed to sell only for people in a specific country, if they do it for another country as well. So we can go and find those issues and notify that very easily. But it's not only that, we can also right now give a report to our receptions and our operation if they really feel all the data. Because in the moment that we want to be to increase our productivity, we need to make sure that we are data-driven, but we need to make sure that we have the right data. So we are also making sure that we are really feeling and asking all the data that we need in the reception. So of course, there's a lot of business benefits for the business itself, and of course for the individuals, the revenue managers. But it's not only, as we are thinking in the way of Fornova, it's not only about monitoring and analysis of the insights, it's about how to take it to the next level. And the next level, how each one of our components can enrich the other, or help us to be much more, let's say, actionable insights. So let me take it into some examples. So if you heard Ujjwal speaking on Fornova DI product, and he was mentioning our test reservation. In order to do a test reservation, to make sure that your data right now, the reservation that you did, in order to find out any wholesalers leakage, then you need to go to the PMS data and to connect those things. So this is where we combine the RI, we combine the DI, works together in order to automate the test reservation part of it. Same as Martin mentioned, regarding to Fornova CI, competitive intelligence. You want to compare yourself to your comp set with as many data points as you can. So this is why if you enrich the CI product with on the books data and any additional data that you are taking, then you make those products much better. Same with our Fornova EC. So yes, you didn't hear about that one, but in general, we are helping hotels to create personalized and dynamic feed for marketing channels. So think right now that those hotel chains, instead of promoting a specific hotel and spending marketing budget when the hotel is already over its performance, meaning they already achieved the targeted occupancy, or they have a huge outfitting issue, we don't want to spend money. And we would like to shift this money to other hotels which are under less performing. So this is where our data from RI or even DI regarding to parity is enriching the EC. So what I'm trying to say that if you take an ecosystem at the end of the day and you work end by end, then it's greater than the sums of its part. I think, and I hope I was standing in your timelines. I know that you are very strict, Enzo.
Great.
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. So now you have a much more, interactive conversation with Claire, Pablo, and Chris. So guys, who is going to make the first question? You are on mute, guys. All of you. I disappear. I don't know why
I'm
guys
very happy to.
doing. Let's wait, guys, coming back. In the meantime, just to understand who is going to make this first question. Chris, you?
Yes, I'm very happy to, unless somebody else wants to go.
Guy, what's up?
Yes.
You are too shy to get the question, man.
No, I was too afraid. No, I'm joking. Instead of stop sharing, it was click the leave studio. Sorry about it.
Okay. All right. So first question.
So thank you very much, Guy, for this really, really interesting presentation. And it's great to see how this all ties in with your overall suite of products. What I'm curious about from a practical point of view, if I'm thinking about hotel now, we're having a lot of issues with silos and communication cross department. So where do you think are opportunities to use your product to break down these silos or help communication across departments? How should hotels use that with the different key players in the hotel, if that makes sense?
So I think in your question, there might be two different questions. One thing is about communication, which is collaboration. So over there, this is not our game. I don't know if they need to use as probably some of us as a tech company are using Slack or any other communication tool and collaboration. So maybe what is the right collaboration tool inside the hotel? I don't know. We got to have right data, everyone see. That is important because this is a challenge. The challenge is that sometimes everyone can tell a story, but they need to make sure that they are looking at the same data, because then each one can make any story that they want. But as long as they are not looking at the same data, then it's not a real story.
Yeah, a lot of
that makes sense.
Definitely. A lot of hotels, they're still used to PDF reports or spreadsheets or things like that. Now, you're offering a dynamic dashboard, which is far, far better than anything static. So there, I think, is a lot of opportunity when it comes to communication, that we do no longer look at the printout. We do no longer look at the PDF, but we actually can look at the data and everything that you're able to show with your solution. I think that's a really great opportunity there.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Next, Pablo, I think you have a question.
Yeah, question about the so there was one of the parts of your software is competitive. I'm not sure it refers to competitive in the sense of being competitive, or if it's comparing to the comp set. So does the software provide a service?
So our Fornova CI, it's competitive intelligence. So it's you compared to your comp set. Of course, the majority when you're thinking about you compared to your comp set, it's rate, It's regarding to visibility. It's regarding to those kind of things. But especially hotels, and hotels, if you think that are not working, let's say, with an RMS tools, those kind of solutions are much more important for them and valuable. Therefore, if you can embed inside on the books data and other performance data, right next to the composite data, it can help them to make the right decision at the right time, and they don't need right now to switch between one product to another, to see right now how much do I have over here, what do I have, which data do I have over here, and then to try to think in their head or to go to a spreadsheet. So now they have everything in one place.
Good.
Makes sense.
Chris, I know you got another one.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see, and I want to tie in a little bit with my question from before. What is the response that you generally get from hotels that transition from a static reporting kind of approach and now have the wealth of information that your solution or solutions offer? What is the feedback that you hear and the response there?
So, of course, I think if I would take it across the board of the products, it's very different if you're speaking with the tier one, the regional ones, or independent. Okay, and as long you're going from top to bottom, so the ones that are in the top, of course, they're also dedicated people, and there are different people that are working on revenue and different that works on distribution. Then when you go to regional, maybe you still have, the two, or sometimes you have 1.5 or 1. Then, of course, when you go to independent, then you might have even the GM to do everything. So it's really different about like each one of those hotels and how they look on the things. So definitely, I think your feedback and your question, it's much more related to more to the independent than small chains, because those are the ones that definitely much more working with the spreadsheets. The ones that the chains, many of them are already started to move to, let's say, tools or any BI tools, and they understand data and analytics much more. So I think also the question for independents, definitely the value it's from day one directly. It's the value is directly for everyone, but of course it's much more, it's much more the impact when you go from zero almost, then the impact it's much other. For the others, it's a lot of fine tuning to make it like as the suite, as a complete, then it create the incremental value, I would say much.
Yeah, I can definitely see that there is a huge difference between going from sports car to Formula One car, while the independent hotel is probably going from a bicycle to a Formula One car. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, everyone.
Up, and now is the time to introduce the next speaker. I'll see you the next. Thank you, Guy. Right, now we have SHR, Angelo Directo. Let's look at the clip and introduce.
My name is Angelo Directo from SHR in Houston, Texas. Now I'm looking forward to pitching to you all at the Revenue Manager, the series. See you soon.
What the sound, Angelo, for your background, man. Very aggressive. I'm expecting a very aggressive presentation. Right, so it's your turn, man. You can pull up your slides.
Oh, I'll start with an introduction here first.
Yeah.
Thanks, Enzo. I appreciate this opportunity. It's an honor to present to you guys. Again, my name is Angelo Directo. As you can see, I'm not Italian, but I am Texan, and I'm presenting to you from the SHR office in Houston, Texas. We have an office in Barcelona as well as in Singapore. So we've been at this business for about 20 years now, and I'm very proud to present to you today. First thing I want to mention is our mission statement of our company, and I think that's an important thing to understand about SHR. Our mission is to simplify the complex world of hoteliers with innovation and superior service. The service aspect is a serious part of our culture. If you're our client, as you can see from my t-shirt, you're not a number. We treat you with respect, we listen to your needs, and we do everything we can to solve your problems. And that's also part of what I'm going to present to you today. Over the past year, we've been listening to our clients. They've been going through a hard time, and they're taking on new roles and responsibilities that they didn't have to take on before. So for example, our clients who are managing distribution are now expected to do marketing. On top of that, they're going to pile on some revenue management. So our clients have to juggle these things together, like I'll try to do now. So every day they'll be doing all these things, hoping not to drop a ball, but if a ball drops, something breaks, there's opportunity cost that rises, a demand that wasn't met, a campaign that wasn't sent out, something forgotten. So our clients are talking to us. Let's see here.
That's a nice one, huh? I love this speech moment. Every time I see something really creative coming up, Right, so I'm sharing your slides now.
Great, thank you. So our clients are asking for help. Currently, we provide three main products: our CRS, Windsurfer CRS, our Maverick CRM, and our Wave RMS. And these are kind of critical core parts of the hotel tech stack. We also have an application called the Rate Shopper. It's kind of important for this discussion. But we looked at what we had and we kind of thought through, well, what data does each application represent? And we looked through that, each application provides key data sources for the hotelier. Not only that, there are parameters there that hoteliers have to look at to kind of make decisions on a day-to-day basis. And we thought it would be great if we could connect these together for our hotels. And let's make it easy for them to do so our hoteliers can do more, right? So that's what we did. We created APIs to expose these data sources from each of our products. We created a data platform to collect data, to analyze it, filter it for future use. We created a way to create mappings to these APIs in a way that's very easy, that requires no code. We also created another interface to create workflows so that our hoteliers could use the data to make things happen, to make things easier for them. And with the same system, we thought it was easy to connect to third-party applications and APIs as well, and so we did that also. So as you can see from this view, we have a full collection of things at the hotelier's disposal. So and we call this platform Bridge. Bridge is an automation platform that interconnects applications and data so that it can automate processes. So it's a platform. It requires these interconnections with other applications and APIs, and it automates processes using something called workflows. So what is a workflow? So I want to go into the structure of a workflow. For us, we've created a workflow that has this structure: if this, then that. If this condition exists, then perform this action and let me know about it, right? So send an email or a text message. There was an aspect of the action that we wanted to automate. So we created this thing called autopilot. So actions that don't require human intervention will just happen automatically with autopilot turned on. Now, there are cases when you don't want things to happen automatically. So you want to turn autopilot off, in which case you would receive an email when the conditions exist, yet you'll be given a link to an action panel where you can see data and decide if you want to take that action. And finally, we created a thing called a scheduler. So workflows can happen automatically at the same time during the day, every day during the week, or certain days of a month for a period of time during the year. So the scheduler is an important aspect of automating these workflows. So I just want to show you how easy it is to create a workflow using Bridge. And in this case, I'll be using what's called a workflow template. And the workflow I want to demonstrate is this one. We call it drop in production triggers a campaign. Specifically, if there is a large drop in production between last week and the week prior, then I want to send a promotional email campaign, but I want to see the data first before I execute that campaign. And so in this case, autopilot's turned off. I don't receive an email before I take that action. And let's have this workflow happen every Wednesday at 12:30, for example. So here we are in Bridge. This is the actual interface in Bridge as it is today. It's one of our early versions, but you can see these are the templates that could be available to hoteliers. We'll pick the first one, production drop triggers an email campaign. We click on that. We want to see what entails this template. What is the condition? What is the action? Say, okay, I want to create a workflow that does that. So say create my workflow. Now we go to the edit workflow screen, and then you can then fill in more information about the workflow. Just 2 fields to fill in. Press save, and then the workflow is active. If the condition exists, if there is a drop in production, you then receive an email, and it looks like this. The email has a link to the action panel. Click on the action panel, and here's the action panel here showing you that drop in production. In this case, it's a 38% difference, a drop in production from last week to the week prior. So yeah, I want to send an email campaign right away. So I click on check the box, update selected. The email campaign goes out. And here's what it looks like. So that's a simple workflow, allows a hotelier to react quickly to conditions. The conditions were from our CRS, and the action was taken in our CRM, connected those 2 applications together using Bridge. Workflows are okay as templates, but more often than not, a hotelier will want to edit or customize that workflow for themselves. I just want to show you briefly this thing we have is a workflow studio where you as a hotelier can customize your workflow for yourself with no code needed. So here's a list of workflows in Bridge. I click on one to edit it. Then I end up in the workflow studio itself. Similar to the template, but there are more parameters here. I can choose applications, mappers. I can input specific values for parameters. I can then add more conditions. I can also edit the action, change applications, change mappers. I can also customize the email message notification or a text message. And I can test the workflow to make sure it's working. And that's it. So that's the workflow studio. We're trying to empower the hotelier to create their own workflows using Bridge. Now, one more thing I want to show you. It's kind of like deeper under the hood in the engine of Bridge. It's called a mapper. And a mapper is usually something that we would use to create API connections to other applications. But I think it's worthwhile to show that this isn't too far-fetched for a hotelier to take on themselves. So far, we have 67 mappings for 20 APIs, and we continue to make more each day. So here's the mapper interface. For example, there's a mapper to Ticketmaster. We can check for events. And here's the kind of fields you have to fill in. You have to know the API, read documentation, but it is a big form, and you just save it, and that's the mapper. So mappers connect to APIs, and the mappers are used to then generate conditions or actions and workflows. Now, as far as the workflow library, now these are the templated workflows in the library. We have a bunch here already. Just to mention a few, I showed you the drop-in production one. We also aspire to create workflows to control rates based on conditions in the OTAs or the CRS. Or we want to have the hotelier respond quickly to reviews from Booking.com. There are APIs there for that. Or how about if the weather changes, if there's a drop in temperature, it's freezing conditions, well, why don't we display winter rates in the booking engine? There could be an automated workflow for that. So just a sampling of workflows that are possible as templates for your use. But that's Bridge. So Bridge is an automation platform that interconnects applications and data so that it can automate processes. And we're trying to make this easy for you, the hotelier, to make your own connections, to be more productive with your own workflows. That's it.
Done?
Yes. Finished.
Amazing. Thank you.
Sure.
Right. So we got some question from Pablo.
Yeah, thanks, Enzo. Quick question here. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the silos we mentioned before, revenue you were juggling around. So who do you see these using it more? I mean, will it be purely sales and revenue getting together and then going to use the tool? How do you see that?
That's a good question. We see everyone part of it. So notifications can go across systems or applications. So maybe an application that the salespeople are using, like here we use Salesforce. There can be an API to Salesforce. There's a lot of APIs to Salesforce. Those can trigger notifications which notify another department that something's happening. So we mean for Bridge to be a cross-departmental tool for workflows and automation, not just the silos.
Thanks.
Who's next? Chris or Federica or Claire? What do you have?
Chris, go ahead.
Wow, I am really impressed. This is a fantastic solution. It really looks like you solve some of the actual problems that we have, especially thinking about different departments, interaction there, and so on. I'm wondering about the integration. You mentioned that you have, and it was almost a side sentence, that you have an integration with Ticketmaster, if I understood that correctly.
That's right.
So how does that part look like? Can you dive into that a little bit more?
Sure. So Ticketmaster has an API. It's a publicly exposed API where you can query if there are large events in a certain city or a certain venue. I think it's specific to an arena or concert venue. So we just we have those parameters there, and then the workflow will just query that every so often, just to detect if there are any changes. So like when the calendar changes for the venue, the hotelier is notified. Then they can go into action to create rates or specials that are composed around that event, right? Does that answer your question? Does that help?
Yeah, I'm just my mind is racing. I'm looking for applications, how to
lots of ideas out there.
use that. Yeah, I don't know if you can speak to some other integrations. Fire up my mind a little more.
So I mean, these integrations depend upon publicly available APIs. So we know Oracle has one that they published again, this OHI. Apaleo has one too that we're looking at pretty closely, as well as there's one for Google Analytics, sports schedules, for example. What we talk about weather, currency exchange. There's one for travel advisories. There's a whole bunch of APIs out there. Just hotel reviews. You can react to those as well. Booking.com, TripAdvisor. So there's a whole gamut of stuff. In terms of integration specifically, this is kind of like the higher level integration. There are deeper integrations that we are very well aware of, like the PMSs, payment gateways. Some of those get very complicated, and those fall outside of this of Bridge. But there is a layer which can produce very productive workflows, just within what Bridge can access. So that's what we're hoping for. For example, we have clients who are large chains, and they have to make changes in the CRS amongst hundreds of properties. Well, make the change, set parameters, and let Bridge do those changes for you, right? Let Bridge monitor your rates for you, tell you when things are going to end or start, so that you don't forget to extend that rate or open that restriction. So anyway, yeah, the cases are endless, and this is a big opportunity for us to kind of talk more closely to our hoteliers. What do you need? What do you want? We're here to help you.
Cool. Right. Thank you, Angelo. Your time is gone. And
right.
Now we can say hello and introduce the next vendor track. Thank you. Thank you, Angelo, again.
Ciao.
Thank you, Angelo.
Right, guys. So now is the turn of hotel partner. We got Florian. Let's meet Florian.
It's finally time to pick up the hotel industry. My name is Florian, and I'm from Hotel Partner. And on the 20th of May, I'll be pitching at the Revenue Manager series, telling you all about how to secure your business and increase your performance moving forward through these hard times. Stay tuned.
Right. Good day. Good day, Florian. How are you?
Hi, Enzo. Thank you. I'm great. I have a bit more sleek haircut today than in my introduction video.
Right. So you know the role. Do your presentation. You can pull up your slide already and start your presentation. And let's get some question at the end of it.
Okay.
Cool. You're right.
I'm up. So great pleasure. After these two amazing companies, SHR and Fornova, I'm gonna focus a bit on what Hotel Partner does, and obviously productivity is the big topic today. I'll try to answer some of the questions that just came up in regards to the lack of employees and the lack of know-how, because we have a clear, especially in the revenue management part, we have a clear solution to this problem. So I'll start off with just some words about Hotel Partner, and then I'll go more the productivity issues, and I'll show you some current numbers of the DACH region, how it's performing, because it's really interesting how the performance is picking up comparison to last year. So what is Hotel Partner? We've been around for quite some time, so since 2006 to be precise. We were founded in Switzerland, and our aim and goal is to optimize hotel revenue management and performance for our partners. And we aim to drive success in every particular market situation with the right application of tactics, technology, and the right strategies. With some numbers to kick off, we currently serve more than 450 partners in Europe. We have been around for over 15 years. Pre-COVID, we've had the performance numbers of around 20% revenue increase over the first 2 years of a partnership. And we currently monitor around 170 markets on a daily basis to make sure that we are always reacting to every change and trend in time. So 2 more numbers I'll give along. We have around pre-COVID around 1 billion of revenue that has gone through our channels, and we've produced over 20 million reservations in the last 10 years for our partners. If we look at our portfolio, we have a big variety of clients. We serve a lot of independent hotels and small chains. We are also working together intensely with hotel management companies who have mixed portfolios, so a mixture of independent and franchise properties, for example. Also asset management companies have become more and more our clients in the past couple of years. What is the reason hotels are now switching to Hotel Partner? What is it that makes us unique? We are one of the few big companies who have who offer a unique synergy. We offer our own proprietary technology, which I'll go into in a second, and we bring our own know-how teams and our experience into a partnership. And you said it, I think Christoph said it, the Formula One car discussion is always something that's very prominent. We strongly believe that every system is just as strong as its user, and that's why we take over the use of the technology for our clients to assist them and to give them more breathing room for other important activities that they have in their property. So what services can you expect from Hotel Partner? We obviously focus on hotel revenue optimization, so we take care of the whole operational revenue management tasks for our clients. We bring in our own revenue management technology. Angelo mentioned the word workflow. We call it rule-based decision-making technology. So we are able to automate a lot of decisions a standard revenue manager would take on his own with our rules and our system. And we're currently developing the 5th generation of our technology. And we have our own distribution technology as well, where we obviously have mixing this with the revenue management technology gives us a very effective control of the distribution channels and gives us many different additional tools to improve performance for our partners. What is the classic steps of how we start a collaboration? Obviously, we go through an evaluation process, which depends on clients' needs. Some small chains have different needs than an independent hotel. The right tech stack needs to be defined on which products does he need and which he does not need. And then obviously we take care of the whole implementation, so the whole setup process. The solution provided by SHR with the mapper and APIs is going to solve a lot of industry pains. I'm sure of that, and we have our own implementation team and our own API team making sure that all our interfaces are constantly up to date. And then obviously we take care of the execution of this strategy and work in close contact with our hotel partners. We are specialized in what we defined 4 areas of where we are specialized in. Obviously, strategy, implementation, and execution. So the setup of all of these automated processes is very individual to every hotel's needs. So we can't just take what is working in one hotel and then just implement it at the other one, because they have a different micro market. They have different dynamics that need to factor into this whole setup. And then obviously the continuous optimization and continuous performance review is important as a direct reaction to any changes in the market, and especially during COVID over the last 12 months, being very reactive and being very quick. I mean, those reactions is literally money, where you can make more money. And we bring in our own expertise, consulting and know-how, where you have a dedicated account manager who takes care of you, and where you can have a sparring partner in your revenue and yield management decisions and thoughts. And for other partners, especially from hotel management companies, we take a lot of risk management, controlling and forecasting into our hands with our tools, but also with our manual inputs in our system, and trying to obviously give our partners a very sense of calmness and knowing, okay, I have a strong partner in the background who's taking care of my pricing decisions, and who kind of shares the responsibility to a certain extent. Now, when we're talking about productivity, I think something that we've seen in the hotel industry quite some time is the classic, okay, we'll sit this one out, it'll come better, it comes back. We think Corona has made a bigger impact than any of the crises in the past 2 decades, where we think that it has on a long-term changed certain behaviors and certain patterns that our guests had over the last 10 years. So obviously there's a lot more short-term pickup. The pace is getting much faster, so you have a lot less reliability on your forecasting. Demand patterns have changed massively. The market dynamics are evolving. There is a huge gap right now between performance of regional and city destinations. There's the guest requirements, obviously, which have gone very high now due to COVID, but we believe that these high requirements will be here to stay. Visibility marketing is a big thing, because right now, especially the independent sector in the last years has caught up so much on the marketing and visibility side that you have a lot more competition competing for a spotlight in the top of your rankings or in your destination, and that obviously leads to a bigger competition. Certain markets are shrinking, whereas the competition is getting higher. A lot of hotels who've had good performance over the years have used this time now to actively invest, refurbish their product, and some of them are coming out of this crisis with a much better and much more in-time product as they were before. So obviously technology is bringing in a lot of positivity here. If we look a bit on the rooms revenue and the performance that we see in DACH right now, I'll quickly go through this. We see a lot of difference between last year and this year. So this is last year. 2019 is the baseline, because obviously we would all love to be performing as 2019, but no one is. And the top line here is the revenue, and this is the volume of reservations. And you can see the difference in the pickup of the last 4 weeks. So we're comparing the last 4 weeks to the same period last year. It's immense. So just the volume is almost triple at some points, which shows that this time around there's much more demand. There's the money still there. The willingness to spend is still there. So that gives us some certain reassurance in the current market. Also very interesting is that we see the development of the direct business and the OTA business. It has grown, the direct business, intensely over the last 3 years. Obviously, this is also a business on books for the coming months, but we expect it to actually grow a bit more, especially in the short-term period. A lot of people like to book directly, which is also an effort of the marketing campaigns and obviously the increase in online demand in general. Just out of time reasons, this is a slide where we see the performance in Austria after opening was allowed. So this was the same period last year when we were told, okay, hotels will open at this date. We got the message this year at the same time, and you can see the immediate floodgates started to go open. because the demand and the pickup was just so much stronger than last year. Just another indicator of the recovery, and the path to recovery is definitely clearly there, especially in leisure regions. Obviously, this is a mix of leisure and cities, the whole Austrian portfolio. So key areas we identify to increase productivity on a hotel level: obviously optimization of your rooms revenue cake is very important. The current client that we just onboarded a couple months ago, we are selling extremely well. He's in a very beautiful leisure destination in Switzerland, but they took a lot of deals with wholesalers, for example, in the winter, because they were looking at generating cash now, which is hurting them right now, because we could have sold a lot more, but we are kind of blocked because 10, 20, 30% of the rooms are already booked with really low value bookings. So looking down the road, obviously this is another thing, especially leisure hotels, they can be a bit more cherry picking in that sense. Data is playing a very, very important role at the moment. To have right and good aggregated data, Fornova showed us how important it is to understand your data and to make the right decisions out of fee. And obviously technology, it needs to be supportive and not in the way. And I think a lot of technology nowadays seems very flashy, but we see not too supportive, and sometimes doesn't even help you as much as you want. So our pitch is that we can assist you in taking care of all of these pains in the revenue management sense on a day-to-day basis, also on a strategical and consultancy level, which gives you more time for your guest satisfaction at the end of the day. And at the moment, we're running a great Corona recovery package where certain hotels can qualify for, where we have diverse service levels and diverse services that we can bring to the table. This is just a small excerpt of what we can offer. Obviously, we can provide a very intense service, and this can be scaled to whatever the client needs and currently wants to focus on. Yes, so for any other questions, you can use the QR code to get in touch with me, or just write me an email. Otherwise, I think I finished just in time, right?
Right, thank you, Florian. It was really interesting. Let me, yeah, okay. Thank you so much. And I know that Claire has a question, right?
Thank you. Florian, I was wondering, do you offer the ability to have multiple comp sets?
Yes, we offer the ability to have multiple comp sets, and we go over regional. So we have a partner in St. Moritz in Switzerland, for example. He's comparing himself to Aspen, Chamonix. He's not necessarily looking at his regional comp set, because he says, my guests, they don't take a decision if they're going to my hotel or to another one in St. Moritz. They're deciding whether they're flying to Aspen or to St. Moritz. So we're kind of taking this approach with a lot of Relais and Chateau properties. We are also looking at over-regional comp sets, because the type of guest going to Relais and Chateau, he's looking for a culinary experience, and he's looking not to go into this direct region.
Cool. So would you then have the ability to do the rate strategies based on market segments? So I can't find anyone currently that will give me a rate optimization for a spa package versus a bed and breakfast versus, so the packages versus just the room only rates, including M&E.
Yes, we yield packages. Yes, is that the question, or? Yeah, obviously this is we've seen the increase in package sales in the last year has been immense compared to the years before, because the client is actively looking for a value for money, where he doesn't feel like he's paying in the package for these extra services, but he's getting something on top of the room and the breakfast. He's getting some certain amenities or some additional benefits, which is not necessarily priced into the room, where he has the feeling this is really value for money, which in my opinion is the only way to have packages in the market, because we've seen very many years ago when packages were created, where the packages were so expensive that the guest didn't really feel like he's getting something for it. So obviously yielding packages is very interesting. We're looking in our next generation to actively, have inventory. Let's say you have a bike package, you only have 5 electric bikes, and then we would say, okay, if we only have 2 left, then the package obviously gets more expensive, because there's a demand for this package for this day, and that's also the ability generate yield at other points. And we're looking to move a lot towards total revenue management as well, because obviously there is a lot of money there still to be made, especially in the independent hotel sector and for other, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I think we're done. Your time is gone. Florian, we wanted to stay with you longer. I know you wanted to share more with us, but we will make something special coming.
I'm around. You can contact me on LinkedIn and we'll pick up this conversation. Great stuff.
Sure. Cool. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon, my friend. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Right, guys. So we're done with those vendor track. Very interesting, right? So thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Claire. You are on mute. It's classic.
Thank you.
We want to really thank you. We really appreciate your participation, and we're looking forward to see you again in our panel in the coming episode and series. Okay, thanks. Bye, Pablo. Bye, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right. It's only us now, guys. We're ready to start the masterclass. The masterclass is going to be, guys, very interesting because it's again focusing on productivity, and so let's see the pitch, the video clip of our coach.
Hey everyone, this is Len Wasserman from Sendine. On May 20th, I'll be part of The Revenue Manager, the series, doing a presentation on productivity. Hope to see you there.
Hi, Len. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Hi, everybody. I laughed as I was doing that video. I just sometimes say to myself, am I really the guy who's going to do a selfie video? I'm not sure, but...
You did it, and you did great.
Hey, it was tough, but I found a way to make it work, just saying. So,
right, now it's your time. We are ending this episode now with this masterclass. You can pull up your slides and start your session, Len.
Okay, perfect.
Right, time's up.
Thank you. So I've got all my notes ready for the presentation here. I think we should be okay in my 20 minutes to cover all this, right? So,
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank goodness I'm kidding when I say that. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present today. Something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is productivity as it relates to revenue management. In a past life, I was working with the team that was developing the old school Excel document that people would use to keep track of their revenue management world. And everything to me was, how can I save the user a click? So when it comes to productivity, that is something that's very near and dear to my heart. So as we go through this presentation, just know I'm excited to be able to bring some insight, and hopefully I can help make your lives a little more productive. So diving in, just a teeny bit about Sendine. We provide sales and marketing and revenue management solutions for the hospitality industry. They focus on integrated hotel CRM, hotel sales, and revenue optimization tools. So I promise you, that's my big sales pitch for the day. So let's dive into why we're here. One slide that I show in almost every presentation I do for revenue management is the 5 rights of revenue management. We're not going to harp on this because obviously this is not a basic revenue management training. But what I bring to the table with this is a reminder that everything we talk about when it comes to productivity, everything we talk about in revenue management really comes back to the concept of these 5 rights. How can we get the right customer at the right product for the right price at the right time through the right channel? And so as I'm doing my presentation, please keep these things in mind as they can help with facilitating your thought process as we move through. Diving in, and you heard this on some other presentations today, one of the things we are finding now is the industry is starting to recover. And in some locations, it's recovering fast and furious, which is really exciting for the hospitality industry, especially after the year we've had. So when you think about what we're talking about here, what we're trying to do is take an industry that is really running lean and mean, is trying to survive in this environment where the floodgates are opening up and people are starting to stay with us in different areas, and also sustain a little bit more or maybe too much of that lean and mean attitude as we start growing. Because we all know you can't necessarily spend the money up front. You have to get back in the swing of things before you can start spending some money in some areas. So that is really what brings us here today, talking about productivity from my perspective. So now we've set the stage. Let's talk about our agenda for today. We're going to focus on 5 areas. 1, strategic planning. 2, cross-department collaboration. 3, leveraging the data at your fingertips. 4, how can an RMS help your hotel boost your productivity? And last, talking about hotel technology integration. So let's dive into the first one. Having a strategic blueprint is incredibly important, and everybody on this call knows that. You have to have a strategy in order to be successful. The days of set it and forget it are no longer. You just can't do it. It's not something that would work in this environment. If a hotel tries to exist on set it and forget it, their competition is going to eat them for lunch. So as we're talking about having the strategy, let's focus in on a few things. 1, you need to have clear-cut goals based on the needs of the hotel. What does that mean? That means understanding where the gaps are, where the need dates are. This could be as focused as what's happening tonight, and it can be as broad as what is happening in the summer season. And frankly, it could go even broader and say what is happening this year, because I think with the recovery side, a lot of us are looking big picture and then narrowing down. So when you think about your strategy, make sure you're looking at what targets and what things need to be your key focus. Is it your channel mix? Is it your distribution? Is it how can you sell your ancillaries to get more revenue from that? Is it group sales? Is it your customer segmentation? These are all pieces that are evaluated in a good revenue management strategy. And your productivity is impacted by how focused you can be in this area. We have so many things we do as revenue managers. We don't always have the time to analyze everything. So we have to look at what are our goals and what can we accomplish in the times that we have allotted for us. So when it comes to strategy, focus on whatever details you can, really get an understanding and make sure you set your priorities correctly. Next piece of this is focus on total profit optimization. It's no longer good enough to just focus on revenue. In the old days, it was focus on occupancy or focus on ADR, and then it's focus on RevPAR. Now it's focus on your total profit optimization. Every dollar matters. Every piece of the puzzle matters. Is it restaurant? Is it food and beverage? Is it other catering things? Is it cabanas by the pool? There are different ways that we can boost ancillary revenue. So make sure you're focusing on the big picture with that. What else can be brought to the table with your customers? And last, and this is just basic revenue management 101, analyze and optimize that revenue strategy. In some hotels, in some markets, that's 3 or 4 times a day. You're looking at what's happening based on what happened tonight. A lot of our booking windows are so short right now. We're evaluating and moving really quick. Now, with that, just keep making sure you're focused on what matters the most. Understand your booking window and focus on that. Sometimes you don't have time to look at the next 90 days and say what's happening. Sometimes you just need to stick to that booking window or just outside the booking window to be proactive and make sure you're meeting those needs. So again, talking about strategy helps you plan and be proactive in picking what you need to focus on with that limited time that you have. So moving on a little bit to topic number 2, and I am not reading this slide. This has a ton of words on it, but it illustrates an important point. Revenue managers work with everyone at the hotel. The information a revenue manager brings to the table, that you have those executive boardrooms at your hotel, and over here is the head of marketing, over here is the head of sales, here you have your housekeeping, maintenance, and all the people around the table, and they're all waiting to hear what the revenue manager has to say about what's coming down, in revenue, occupancy, etc. Where are the gaps? Where are areas that we need to do some more sales efforts? Where should our rates be adjusted on groups? Where can we focus to build up some business? What do we need to do? Maintenance, they're focused on when can I change things in the rooms? when can I put rooms down to fix X, Y, or Z? And housekeeping is saying, I need to have enough people to cover all those rooms. So there's so many facets and so much collaboration that has to happen that this slide just illustrates the craziness of what a revenue manager has to deal with in a particular day. That's above and beyond looking at that data and the spreadsheets and analysis. Now, the next piece of this slide is not just let me pass the information, but it's also important to understand, especially in this environment when we're talking about productivity, is a revenue manager can't do it alone. It is not just change a rate and they will come, or change a strategy, or open a restriction, or set a restriction, and that will bring you the revenues. It's important to have the buy-in of everybody at the hotel in the strategy that you're doing. So when you're thinking as a revenue manager, I have come up with my strategy. Do I need to send an email to the team? Do I need to do a presentation to the team? What do I need to do in that day now that I've come up with the strategy? You need to get the buy-in of everyone. You can set a rate behind the scenes, and then that's all it takes is that front desk person to override that rate, give a discount of $20 or 20% or however your hotel works, and your strategy just went out the window. The team needs to know why you're putting the strategy in place. So collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Work together so everybody knows what's happening, but also make sure you have buy-in from all the team members to make sure you truly can put that strategy out there, and the team that can impact it is working the strategy. So as we move from collaboration to go deeper, one of the things that you'll find in the hotel industry is there's always a battle between revenue management and sales. And it's really a wonderful battle. It's not a bad thing, but it's the two teams have the same ultimate goal of bringing as much revenue as possible to the hotel. However, one is focused on booking the meetings and one is focused on what rate and what is the right value and what is the right market value for the hotel. And sometimes that leads to headbutts and what should need to happen. So I call attention to groups specifically because this is just an interesting example of how, if a revenue manager is keeping that sales team in the know and they understand the needs, that communication will be smooth and fast and optimized. And one piece of the puzzle is even consider when it comes to having productivity issues, is consider having some kind of automated process for getting the information from the revenue manager to the sales team and back from the sales team to the revenue manager. This could be something like a group rev product, which allows the revenue manager to set and build behind the scenes what rates should be offered to make it easier for the sales team to respond to RFPs and requests for rates. Or it could be just magically figuring out a better way to have that Excel document with rate offerings or your sales and catering system optimized to make sure that message is going between the two teams. Just wanted to give you an example of what I was talking about. So we're talking about this group side. Now, the next feature is data. And when we look at what's going on in the world with data, is we find ourselves, revenue managers are data hungry. Revenue managers are really focused on diving in to the Sudoku puzzle of it all. How deep can we go and really understand what's happening with our numbers? So when you think about the analytics of it all, you really need to be able to get to that data, dive into that data, and really feel what's going on. I remember the days when I was working in a hotel environment and going to that meeting, that same executive meeting I was talking about before, and you come to the table with as much notes as possible. I'm aging myself, but before laptops were in every office, you would come with stacks of paper and you would have your information, and someone would ask, what's happening with this channel? And you'd quickly flip to the page to give the answer so you could do that. The days of having stacks of paper are gone. So it's important to have systems that allow you to be more productive, systems that can help you see that data quickly. It can be any form of a BI tool that you may have, business intelligence tool, something that can put that information at your fingertips, create dashboards and show you. It could be something like our Reventel product, where it actually shows you information all on one page, gives you dashboards, gives you easy access. You pick the right reports, you pull it up, you can see your information. So it's super incredibly important to think along the lines of, what is your team doing? If they're currently using an Excel document where they take reports from the PMS and put it into a file every day or every couple days or whatever the cadence is, you're really hindering your performance because you don't have that automation. Someone I work with always talks about automating the predictable. So think about that. If you're doing something every single day that takes you 20 minutes to update, imagine what you could do with 20 minutes a day times a work week times 52 weeks a year. What could you do with that time in regard to strategy? What things could you catch if you were able to look ahead just a little bit further with that extra hour a week and more time, or excuse me, almost 2 hours a week and more time going ahead? So think about leveraging the data at your fingertips and go one step further and think about the analytics of that data. What are you doing with the data? Going deep into it, starting from the top, you're going to have your high-level information. Can you go deep enough to optimize how quickly you can see that information? Are you looking at room type optimization potential? Does your report break down enough to show you, just using some easy room types, to show you your kings versus your 2 double beds? Does it show you where your production is? Does it help you understand where that business customer is coming versus the leisure customer? Does it help you understand what channel is booking which room types, so you know where your rates need to be structured to target the guests in those different channels and different areas that you would book? And frankly, that all helps you go back to that strategy conversation, where it puts you in a place where you can see what's going on with what's really being sold at your hotel. So make sure you understand your analytics side. Which leads me to the next piece of the puzzle, is a revenue management system and how it can help you really optimize and be more predictable, not predictable, wrong word, and be more productive. Too many P words in this presentation today. So as you think about how you can use the efficiencies of something, we talked about Excel documents already. We talked about optimizing the data. Just imagine if you had a revenue management system that could do all of that work for you. And think just for a minute, I talked about how revenue managers should make sure they're focusing on what goals are important and zooming in on that booking window, because right now you may only have enough time to focus on the booking window in that area. But if you have a revenue management system, not only is it looking at your booking window, it's also looking at the future and potentially all the way out to whatever the booking horizon is in that system. In some cases, it can look up to 2 or 3 years out and make sure it's not missing anything and catch those bookings that may be coming in, or flag the group bookings that may be put in and booked and overcome. And now all of a sudden you see these dates where you need to change the focus of the sales and marketing team and adjust focus and say, hey, we're really good for summer next year. We need to start focusing on winter, or whatever that conversation is. And the key piece of an RMS is that it has the brain for you. Taking it to another level, make sure you're finding an RMS that uses the science of it all. Something that can actually dive in and evaluate where the bookings are coming from, help you target those environments, understand what rate is appropriate for these areas, really dive into where it can go, thinking about optimizing dynamic rates. Think about how quickly a revenue management system you hit a button and it pushes your rates to the PMSs. How many times have you sat down at your PMS just to change one small season, and it takes you an hour and a half to adjust all the rows and all the room types and all the different pieces? A revenue management system at its core, I like that rate. You hit submit, and then it pushes to the PMS and saves you all the time. So depending on your structure, make sure you're considering an RMS, like something like what we have with GuestRev. Think about that as a product that can help not only optimize the basics, the tasks, the tactical stuff, but also optimize the strategy by bringing some science to the table and give you some understanding and how to help you with the strategy. Again, your small team of revenue managers, they can't look at every single day into the future, But with automation, they really have it at their fingertips, and they can catch things that they wouldn't catch otherwise. So taking this now to the next level, and we're on the home stretch, everybody. Just a couple more slides left. This slide has a lot of words on it when it comes to all the little balls around the circle. But think about this as you at your hotel, you have so many different technology pieces. You'll have a sales and catering system. You'll possibly have an RMS. You'll have a BI tool. You have a point of sale system. You have other apps that work. You have your survey systems. You have social systems, a call center, all these different areas where all this data is just flying around everywhere. Finding a way to integrate those systems can boost your productivity immensely. By taking all the data from those individual pieces and bringing it into your strategy, it helps you further dive into what's happening. Plus, it optimizes it. Back to the past where you had a spreadsheet and you were taking this report from that system and pasting it in that report and pasting it, or importing, or whatever form of file protocol you might have had set up. This is really important in the sense that it can take all that data, put it into one place, and help you with your strategy. Different pieces of the puzzle, putting it together, bringing it to your strategy at your fingertips. It all relates back to everything we just talked about. How can we improve communication between teams, helping maintenance, helping housekeeping, helping sales and catering, helping marketing, all the different teams with quick access to the data, because it all has all these pieces integrated. Now, one of the waves of the future that's coming is the concept of a customer data platform. This is the last piece of the puzzle. The customer data platform is a way to take what we just talked about, those integrations, and create your single source of truth. Taking the data from all those different pieces, putting it into one bank of information, and allowing your systems to all go to that single source of truth. You have revenue numbers from your PMS sitting in one place. Does your BI tool analyze it the same way as your RMS does? Does your sales and catering system understand it the way those other two systems understand it? Does your revenue management system have access to what's coming from the point of sale for the restaurant? Does it have some means to see that Mr. Smith not only booked his room, but he also went to the restaurant and bought dinner for his 10 best friends? What does your system have data access to? And having a customer data platform is something that can be huge and really a big piece of what your how your systems can integrate and have access to the data. One place allows you really to dive in. When you think about some of the larger resorts and even some of the other hotels, you really want to be able to focus on things like, what did Mr. Smith do in his last stay? What has Mr. Smith done over the last year of while he's staying? Do we need to focus in on possibly offering him a discount? Does he bring us enough business to become a company under himself? What does it really flow when it comes to that particular environment? Well, having a customer data platform puts it all in one place, gives you that single source, and all of your systems can tie into that and be what you need and be consistent across them all. So customer data platform is that last piece where you take your hotel technology integration, put it all together. So to summarize for everyone, what I'm suggesting and what I'm hoping you take away from my presentation: create a strategy for your hotel, basically helping your team focus on the right priorities, make sure the goals are shared across everyone, all the teams, make sure you're collaborating with all the organization so everyone backs you up, so everyone's helping put that in play. And when they do decide to not, they understand what ramifications it'll have. Leverage the data that's at your fingertips. There's so many things that you have available at the hotel that can help you make strong decisions. Make sure you're looking at it, again, to meet those priorities that we talked about in the first piece. Boost your productivity with an RMS. Use the help and resource that's available. It is absolutely worth getting away from that Excel document that everybody uses. Spend time on strategy, less time on tactics. And last, integrate your hotel's technology solutions. Make sure that they talk to each other to speed up the process, make you more productive, so you can accomplish your goals in less time. So thank you everyone for this opportunity. I hope I brought some value to your day. If you do have any questions, feel free to find me on LinkedIn, and on the screen is info@sendine.com is an email address you can reach out to, and people from my company will communicate on what you need to know, and if needed, they'll reach out to me to get you answers to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. Very cool, very insightful. Thank you so much. Before we leave, Len, do you have any questions, guys? Chris, Diego, or Federica? Len.
Yeah, I have only well, I have a lot of questions. Congratulations, Len, for your presentation. It was incredible, and I had like 10 takeaways to do, no? But could you give a couple of advices to our viewers to have an integrated technology ecosystem? Because I see a lot of things when I speak with college that they are or we are integrating some layers of technology that they are not integrated to each other. So at the end you have 10 systems that you need to manage daily. So could you give us a couple of quick best practices?
Yes. So one of the things that my family has always taught me, basically my mom, is you don't get what you don't ask for. So when you're looking at your systems at the hotel, and this is pretty basic, but when you're looking at your systems, make sure you ask what they integrate with. Yeah. So when you're having that initial RFP conversation with the different products, make sure you're putting on the table, we work with these vendors. How can you work with them? And that'll give you an understanding of, is this decision the right one, or do I need to do something differently? And the follow-up to that is, in a lot of cases, companies like Sendine and other big ones, they're trying to set their priorities for setting up new integrations. And unless they have people asking for things, certain integrations may become a less priority or a lower priority. So make sure you're asking, put it in writing to your account manager, make sure they understand, this is what I would love to do. And then the second piece of that is make sure you ask, what does the integration do? What does it accomplish, and what value does it bring? Is it just a means for one-way communication where it dumps information? Can we use the information in two-way? Can we get benefit from not only seeing what we sold last night, but can we actually impact the strategy? If it's a revenue management system, not only does it take information for your comp set review, but maybe it can put information back in to make sure that that system uses it. So those are probably the two big things, is make sure you understand where you're going with those pieces. And the third piece is, and I say this as it's near and dear to my heart, if you don't understand the technology, make sure you have someone back you up who does.
Yeah.
There's so many companies out there that'll tell you, oh, we can work with that. Yeah. And there's some magical quick fix that they create that just leads you down an interesting path. So make sure you have some backup with that.
Yeah, thank you for your words, Len.
All right, so thanks, Len. We are at the end, so we just got a few minutes. We have to announce the winner of the guy who downloaded the Revenue Manager book. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon, Len. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Len. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So it's the end. It's again another long day, and but to be honest, it was great. And,
a great masterclass.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It's very clear bullet points, best practice. Very practical guide. So make sure, guys, you're still watching now to get in touch with Len, download the book, do everything is possible, guys, to improve your job, your professional. Right, so Chris, it's your turn now. Who's going to be this winner?
All right, so as you all know, we put out the Revenue Manager, the dictionary, 600 plus terms of revenue management and general hospitality terms. Lots of interesting opinions, and Diego's new KPI on how to improve sell of premium rooms. So it's a fantastic piece that we put together. Go to hospitalitynet.org/TRM dictionary to download it. And all of you who have signed up there before now had a chance to win a consulting session with Federica, Diego, and myself. We're going to look at your revenue management questions and your hotel. Yes, so we chose the winner for this competition, and it is going to be Nico Sen of the Hotel Walter in Switzerland. And we're going to reach out to you, Nico, and we're going to schedule a call. And yeah, any questions that you have, we will be happily answering them. So thank you very much for your participation, and congratulations.
Cool. So let's make sure, guys, we are tagging this guy on the comments on LinkedIn. I'm passing again the title, guys, where anyone can keep downloading this book. It's going to be there forever. It's not only for this limited time. So we're expecting a lot of download. And actually, there is a lot of hundreds and hundreds of people downloaded already. Let me go quickly through. So as Chris was mainly the person projecting this ebook, I want to go through just quickly the table of contents. Chris, can you just quickly explain what it's going to be about when they go through this ebook?
Sure. So we have a great start to the ebook. Scott Dahl was so kind to write the foreword, yeah, so it's a great introduction to what is going to follow, and he doesn't only moderate fantastic panel discussions, he also is a great writer. So thank you, Scott, for doing that. Yeah, we're starting basically, and you will see that on the next page, I believe, with some questions. And the way how we structured the ebook is, instead of having more or less interesting biographies of our contributors to this ebook, we asked them certain questions that are relevant in today's world of revenue management and hospitality. And so they came back with some really brilliant answers, and we scattered them throughout the ebook to break up the dictionary kind of in several sections, and introduce every one of these sections with some interesting questions. As I said, we had contributions from people from all over the world, experts in revenue management, who each one of them wrote the content that you find in here. And yeah, more than 600 terms. That's a lot of words, a lot of content. 115 pages, I believe, overall in explanations on different terms. What do they mean? And yeah, I think it's a really nice compendium of terminology that we use in our everyday. Yeah, kudos to everyone who contributed there.
Cool, very cool. It's huge, man. So there's a lot of things here. I think best ways to download this book, get this book on the beach when you are in the summer or during the weekend, guys. Take your relax, keep reading, Right, so then, guys, the situation here is almost 6:20. We can say hello, everyone. Let's remind everyone that next episode is going to be the 10th of June, and the title of the next episode, if I'm not wrong, who is going to remember that? Federica, you are on mute.
You're on mute.
You are on mute.
It was my turn this time. Yes, it's one of my favorite topics, is cost optimization and profitability. Very, very important, because the bottom line is important. So stay tuned. Next episode will be on 10th of June, and we will have a lot of insights and wonderful tips.
Cool. Right. So Any last word from you, Diego?
I see you in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
Learning.
Cool.
Really cool.
Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and see you in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Bye, guys. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you, everybody. Ciao.